Welcome, everyone, to the August 1st City of Columbia Board of Zoning Appeals. I am Catherine Fenner, Vice Chair for the board, and will be serving as chair for today's meeting. At this time, I would like to introduce the other members of the board. We have Celia McIntosh, Davis Whittle, and Sherrod Duval. We are expecting Jonathan Vang. I would like to introduce the staff that assists the board: Hope Hasty, Zoning Administrator, and Erica Hyen, Deputy Zoning Administrator, and Madeline Bowden, who is our new Land Use Coordinator. I guess you're just the coordinator. Okay. The board is charged with hearing applications for special exceptions, variances, and administrative appeals. All testimony is recorded for the record, and anyone wishing to speak will need to be sworn in and come to the podium to speak. No testimony can be taken from the floor. When you come to the podium, state your name and please speak clearly into the microphone because this meeting is being recorded. Applicants with cases before the board are allotted a presentation time of 10 minutes. This time also includes all persons presenting information on behalf of the applicant. This time limit does not include any questions asked by the board or staff regarding the case. Any member of the public may address the board in intervals of 3 minutes or 5 minutes if by a spokesperson for an established body or group of 3 or more. The applicant then has 5 minutes for rebuttal. The board reserves the right to amend these limits on a case-by-case basis. Those of you who plan to speak must be sworn. If you are here as an applicant or here to speak in any case, please stand at this time and raise your right hand. All right. Do you affirm or attest that the testimony you will give today is the truth and nothing but the truth? All right. All right. At this time, I will turn the meeting over to Ms. Hasty.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So we'll go ahead and start with the consent agenda this afternoon. First item is the approval of the July 11th, 2024 meeting minutes. And the next item on consent agenda is case 2024-0009V. It's 2510 Cypress Street, a variance request to reduce the side yard setback on a residential lot.
Hope, we're
Yes.
not seeing anything on our iPads.
Okay. We'll grab someone from IT. Thank you. Okay. He's coming up to help.
Good jokes.
Okay, does anyone have any item they wish to have removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda? I see no one. All right, so may we have we need a motion to approve the minutes and the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda subject to staff comments.
And the minutes?
Minutes.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
All right. Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed say nay.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion approved.
All right, would you like to move to the regular agenda, or are you waiting for would you like to wait for the iPads?
They came up.
They're up.
Oh, they're up, okay, great. All right, we will move to the regular agenda. We have one item, and that is 2024-0008 SE. It's 2000 Green Street, Unit B, and it's a special exception request to permit a liquor store in the CAC district. And if you'll recall, you did hear this case a little over a year ago, and they are back with the same request. And the applicant's here to present his case. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kat Scalacci, and I'm an attorney at McCullough.
Turn mic
Can
on.
you
I'm sorry,
speak
sir, mic on?
directly into the microphone or make sure it's on?
Let's see if that makes it better. What do you
There you
think?
go. That's better.
Yay.
All right. Again, good afternoon, and my name is Kat Scalacci, and I'm an attorney with Joe McCullough at McCullough and Scalacci, and I'm actually here for Joe, representing James Bigby, who is seeking a special exception for a permitted use of a retail liquor store in a CAC zoning district. Mr. Bigby is not from out of state. He is a member of our community. Mr. Bigby was born in Hartsville, graduated from USC. He has lived in the Columbia community for 25 years. He's run business, currently owns and runs Salty Nut Cafe in Five Points. And I wanted to give you an overview, and then importantly, I want Mr. Bigby to be here to answer specific questions that you might have, whether it's related to traffic, how he intends to operate his business. So I'm just here really to give you an overview. In terms of the location and the parking, this particular location, and you're probably all familiar with Five Points, but this is in the old Pavlov's building. And Pavlov's is kind of in a depression, so it's really hard to see it from the street. And right in front of the old Pavlov's building is the business owned by Salty Nut and Mr. Bigby. So he is going to be the one most affected by this business because it actually shares a parking lot with Salty Nut. And he intends to create some additional parking spaces immediately in front of the shop where you see that awning. That should be some additional spaces as well. He has done some exterior aesthetic and structural improvements. He wants to see, of course, he would like to be able to be approved so he can really get that going. Put in like a glass front. He's already, I think, put on like a new roof, worked on air conditioning, some of those things to really get the building where it needs to be. I mean, he is tending to put in an investment. It's an investment in 5 Points. It's an investment in the current business that, again, is going to be most affected by what he is asking for. This is a business that is not a bar. He is only going to sell liquor and wine. He's not going to sell beer. He's not going to sell the pint containers that are some people sometimes concerned for people, consuming there. This is not that. He is going to be operating between 9 in the morning and 7 p.m., consistent with South Carolina law. If he's open at 7:05 p.m., I can assure you SCDOR will be right on top of it because you can't do that. So you're guaranteed that he is going to be operating during those daytime hours between 9 a.m. and 7 p.m., and they may change a little bit to be shortened, but he cannot be open after 7 p.m. Again, he's not going to sell beer. I know that there are convenience stores that sell, beer in the area. I know Gourmet Shop sells wine. And so this is kind of an opportunity for residents, people of the community to have a place to go and get bourbon, get a glass actually get a bottle of wine, a bottle of wine for dinner. So I think it's going to be something that is going to be a big investment in 5 Points. And you'll see part of our letters of support are commercial real estate brokers who also see that this is going to be a great asset for the 5 Points area. And if needed, he is going to have, extra security. The building already has 22 cameras on it. And he has had to address concerns from last year. He's had a traffic study conducted, and I want to make sure that you guys, because there would have been 2 reports. The latest one was July 29th, 2024, which found that it's not going to negatively impact traffic volumes on Green Street. And there are some, additional things that, he may be considering in terms of having an exit only on an alleyway that goes to Assembly. but we really don't see that this is
You mean
going,
Blossom?
I'm sorry.
You mean Blossom?
Blossom, thank you so much. It is going to be something that we believe he will be able to address any kind of, high-volume game days. That's when you just get extra security there because you're also wanting to make sure folks aren't parking there and then walking down to the game. And I know that he has already submitted some specific responses to some of the criteria, but I just want to quickly hit on these and then get to the important part of having him answer your specific questions. One of the criteria is no substantial adverse impact on adjoining properties. Again, the person who is going to be most impacted, that business, is going to be Salty Nut Cafe, that right there that Mr. Bigby runs and owns. Some of the other, you have a high-rise apartment building right there. You have Andy's Deli across the street. Andy's Deli wrote a letter of support. The Five Points Association wrote a letter of support that should be included in your packet. And we have some neighbors just right across in Gibbs Green, there on Lawrence, that also wrote letters of support. Because we want this to be a neighborhood, a community place. And because the building is situated in that depression, because it's going to be daytime hours, you're not going to have to worry about light pollution, noise pollution, those things that are kind of listed in criteria 5. Likewise, right now, that's an abandoned building. And what Mr. Bigby wants to do is invest money to make it look good, a retail operation that is also, again, going to be an investment for his other business, Salty Nuts. So it's important that they look good and that they're attractive. Criteria 7, that there is no adverse impact on public safety or nuisance conditions. And that is why he had the traffic study conducted. And again, this is a vacant building that is going to be turned into a occupied retail business. So it's going to be something that's going to be a disincentive to loiterers. And again, just given the number of cameras, this is a shop that's going to offer a desired amenity within walking distance of, residents, other people in the community. And it's also, we know we have a new hotel that's going to be going in soon. And so that's why we've included those letters of support from people right there. And criteria number 7, is the exception compatible with the general character of the district? I certainly think so. I mean, this is going to be a shop nestled in the heart of one of Columbia's oldest entertainment districts. Now, I understand that some people may be opposed to alcohol in general, and I know that's been, a concern raised with 5 Points. But I don't think that's a valid concern. This is the end of prohibition, and this is not a bar. This is something that's going to be operating during the day. And we know that the University of South Carolina itself has a substantial investment in its own alcohol, beer, and liquor sales at different sporting events. So I think any objection that it's just alcohol, I don't think that to be a valid objection. Lastly, BOZA has been mandated and tasked with the objective review of these applications. I think this application is reasonable. I think it's appropriate with the criteria. I think it's consistent with the 5 Points Entertainment District. And again, the letters of support from the 5 Points Association, 5 Points businesses like Andy's Deli, Saluda's, I think also was part of that packet, residents. So we would ask and call for the approval of the special exception. And now I'm going to invite any questions that you might have for Mr. Bigby.
Thank you. Okay. Hey, good afternoon. My name is James Bigby, B-I-G-B-Y for the record, and I'm here to ask for a special exception for the retail liquor store, and I'm here to answer any questions that you have. Yeah, I'll put it down a little bit. But I would like to point out real quick one thing that is, and this is the zoning for most of Five Points is a CAC zoning, which is Community Activity Center. And this is a handout, and it should be in the application, but just in case you missed it, it's a handout from the City of Columbia that lists the principal uses of or businesses that are approved for the CAC. And one of them is a retail liquor store, and with a special exception, of course. So I just wanted to point that out and make sure that this board realizes that. And then just to address a couple of the issues that people might have for the traffic, we've had a traffic study. They've determined that it's not going to create more traffic than another similar retail location. And my point is it's going to be something. I mean, the building is sitting there. It's not active. It needs to be activated and have a business. So it's not an abandoned building. And whatever goes in there is going to create traffic. I mean, it's going to generate traffic. It can't be a storage facility. It's just the price per square foot is just will not allow a storage unit to go in. And the last thing I'd quickly like to address is being a nuisance. And again, the first person that's going to be affected by it would be Salty Nut Cafe and myself. So there's no way that I'm going to jeopardize the Salty Nut Cafe and have people hanging out in the parking lot drinking and just being a nuisance when I have a business that's been there for 30 years in the same parking lot. That's just not going to happen. So I give you my word on that. So any questions you might have, please.
I have a question. It's not clear, we were not clear on the egress, the exit. So people will come in from Green Street. Where are they going to exit?
Well, there's two ingresses and egresses on Green Street.
Right.
So they come in on one and they can egress on from the other.
Okay, so you're not anticipating that they will then go down and exit down at Blossom Street?
Well,
That little back alley thing?
if it's there, they can, yeah. I mean, people use that when trains come, people use that and
Yeah.
shoot down there and all,
Yeah, I've done
and so the traffic study does not, I don't think it specifically mentioned that.
No, it didn't.
Yeah.
No, it didn't mention that. My concern, I'm just concerned, I'm concerned particularly about that Blossom Street exit. Because if they are going to exit onto Blossom Street, because it's a blind, if they're turning left, if they're turning right, it's no problem. You can see clearly any cars coming from the east. But if they're going to turn left, it's very blind there. And there's a lot of pedestrians who come up from Christopher Tower. So I'm a little concerned about that. And I was wondering if there's some way you could discourage people from doing that, because I can see that could be a more of a problem.
On Blossom Street, or are you talking about?
Down at Blossom Street.
Okay.
Down by the railroad trestle there.
Sure, all right. So you're saying that if you take a right, and then you're talking about taking a left?
Right, if you're taking a right, you can see traffic coming from coming down Blossom Street. But if you're taking a left there, there's lots of traffic coming down from Lawrence Street already coming, and they love to come in and turn left.
Yeah.
That's not how I would choose to go, but that's what they do. And so the problem is that if they're going to do that, I'm concerned that that if people are going to come through there and try to turn left there, they can't really see.
Yeah, well, I think the best thing would do would put a signage there that says no left turn.
Can you arrange to have that done?
I would think so, if it's that big of a situation, and there've been a lot of car wreck history of accidents with people
Well,
turning
nobody's,
left.
there haven't been people much going down there. So, I mean, most of the time people aren't coming down that way. I'm just saying it'd be something that maybe you could undertake to have done. Get somebody to put a sign there, no left turn.
Yeah, I mean, to the extent that that would be permitted by the city or
DOT.
I mean, we would certainly have, no problem.
Okay,
But again, we can't promise.
I know you
something.
can't promise it, but you could undertake to do it, use your best efforts to do it. So, okay. All right. Other questions?
I have a question. It's a little bit of a curiosity, but is relevant. Within South Carolina liquor laws, will you be in turn providing or selling liquor to restaurants? Will that be part of your business model or?
No, you have to have you have to have a separate license for that.
Okay.
So it's a class, I think it's called a Class B license, and we won't have that. We'll
Okay,
just have an
okay.
off-premise license.
Okay, okay.
Any other questions?
Celia, is your point there to wonder if there's going to be big trucks coming in, loading up, taking loads to stores? Was that your thought in asking that, or?
No, it was more of like an economic impact thing of that the restaurants right there would have a
Gotcha.
super close.
I had that same question about.
We already have a problem. If you try to come down Green Street, it's always a huge problem with the beer trucks parked there. They just stop. And, they come willy-nilly. So, yeah, it is already a problem there. So, yeah, nothing can be done about that. So, okay.
And keep in mind that any business is going to generate, traffic. And we've done, what we could in terms of getting a report to show that it wouldn't make any, substantial difference versus other permitted uses.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Would anyone like from where's this? Would anyone in the audience like to speak to this case? I lost my place, y'all. Yes, sir. Come forward and state your name for the record, please.
Hello, how are you all? My name is Reggie McKnight. I think it would be in our best interest. I live exactly 400 feet from there. I live in the condominium, the Plaza Center condominium at 2009 Green Street. And I think it would be in our best interest if we have it, if we locate that there. Because a lot of people, a lot of college students are in and out, and I think it'd be a boon to the community and to the gentleman who wants to reopen it, so to speak. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I kind of miss y'all. I was on the Board of Zoning Appeals for 8.5 years, and we made a lot of very poignant decisions, specifically as it pertains to alcohol and alcohol stores. I think this would be in our best interest if we allow him to put it there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Yes, sir.
My name is John Baines. I'm from the Wales Garden Neighborhood Association. I promise to tell the truth, the whole truth.
Yeah.
But the truth.
Thank you.
The question I'm asking is why Green Street? Morgan Elway's is located on Forest Drive. Greens is located on Assembly, major arteries. Bottles is located at Fort Jackson Boulevard. Jimmy's and Son is located at the corner of South Hardin and Rosewood. Why not Blossom Street, which is a major artery? Why not Hardin Street? Why Green Street, which is off the main drag? The answer is because up on top of the hill beyond Green Street is a huge population of 4,000 new freshmen at the university every year. And when they go to 5 Points, they go down Green Street. You can see them every evening walking down Green Street. They're young. This is their first year in college. And the booze at the shop is going to be cheaper than the booze anywhere else in 5 Point because you buy it by the bottle rather than by the shot. And that's going to be a tremendous attraction. The students are going to get it. They're going to take it back to their dorms. They're going to take it up to University Hill. They're going to take it to Martin Luther King Park. And they'll probably sneak it somewhere into 5 Points. Alcohol has been a problem in 5 Points for a long time. We've been fighting that, and we've cut down and shut down a few bars. But now, and still two suits going on right now, sponsored by our Senator, Dick Harpootlian. The bottom line is that just like Salty Dog, this shop is going to be mostly a student hangout, a student place to get booze and then suffer the consequences. Students are creative. They'll find places to consume it. They'll find ways to get around the patrols. The bottom line is this packaged good store is not needed, will not serve our neighborhood, and it will probably lead to a significant increase in costs for the city of Columbia as the police patrols have to increase to respond to the increased alcohol consumption in 5 Points. So we oppose the expansion of this. We think it's asking for trouble. It's asking for increased police patrolling of 5 Points. It's asking for increased costs to the city of Columbia. And we don't think we need it. We don't want it. And we're asking for problems if you all approve it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else from the community like to speak? That's fine. You can come forward and we'll swear you in right now.
I'm reading it on my phone, the packet that was sent out, and it's,
Wait till you get in front of the microphone. Okay, and let me swear you in. Do you swear or affirm that you will tell the truth?
I do.
Okay. And
So
state your
I'm
name for the
reading
record.
from my phone the packet that was sent
Susie,
out.
could you state your name for the record?
I'm Susie Dibble, and I live at University Hills. Been there for 30 years, and I'm just so curious about these letters. Okay, so Billy Canty is in support of it. He lives nowhere in the area. Great guy, runs an excellent rental company. Trinity Partners, I believe you're with Trinity Partners. I looked up on the website. Trinity Partners, none of them live in University Hills or Wells Garden. Who else did I see? Oh, I love Frank Kason's letter, that he's in support of it. Frank Kason has done amazing development in this city, and I have such respect for his work, but he lives nowhere in the area, and he supports it. So I'm curious about how they got all these people to write these letters, which have no relevance for 5 Points. And Frank Kason says he thinks it'll be so good because 5 Points is on the way up. So how is more alcohol going to make 5 Points better? I mean, I just don't see any reasoning behind this. And Mr. Bagby, I love your salty nut place. My kids grew up there. But I'm sorry, I see no benefit of this liquor store coming anywhere near our neighborhood, Shandon, Wells Garden, and especially the University of South Carolina. And I oppose it wholeheartedly. And I'm just speaking for myself, not University Hill.
Thank you, Ms. Dibble. All right, is there anyone else who'd like to speak? All right, if the applicant could come forward and address the rebut.
Just a few points. Any students that are going to be walking down, as I heard in the evening, are going to be out of luck because this business has to close at 7 p.m. And it's a business that is going to serve all of the surrounding areas. Shandon, if you see the letters of support, it's the 5 Points Association, it's Andy's Deli, it's residents who live there, right there, that are almost adjoining the property. And these are people who want to have the convenience of being able to walk down and get a bottle of wine with dinner. So, you know, 5 Points doesn't just serve university students. 5 Points is to serve the entire community. And USC itself made the value judgment to offer beer, wine, liquor, you know, at its events because USC understands that it's serving not just university students, but the community at large. And, you know, the one who's going to be most affected if there's problems is going to be Mr. Bigby. So I think the idea of students just hanging around at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in the parking lot, like drinking alcohol, I think is unreasonable. And that's just the type situation we just don't envision. And again, when this is a place where people, it's not a bar, it's some place where people come, you get your bottle of wine and then you go back to your house where you're cooking a big Italian meal, where you decide that you want to get a bottle of bourbon before you watch the Kentucky Derby. It's something, again, meant for the entire community. And we appreciate, anyone who has opinions, and I think there's always going to be differences of opinion when it comes to alcohol. But we believe this is going to be a responsible business. Alcohol is heavily regulated in South Carolina. So again, those hours aren't going to change. This is not going to be a place that's going to be open at 10 o'clock at night.
I have a question, and it pertains to your ID situation. I know that ID scanners, there's like really high-end ones, and then there are like, not so good ones. What are you going to be doing, do you think, to prevent, underage people from buying, with a fake ID or whatever? What sort of plan do you have? What sort of protocol do you have?
Yeah, so we're going to have the high-end scanner, and it's about $3,000. And the ones that they can get around, they cost about $800. But the one that is $3,000 has a lot more technology and it's updated. The database is updated a lot more. And so it's very hard for them to get around that. I can't say it's 100% foolproof,
Nothing
but
is.
it's a lot better than the cheaper ones, yes.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
And, okay, and I'd just like to add that I live in Shandon too. I've lived there for 25 years. And so I have a lot of friends that live in Shandon and they'd be happy to have the convenience of a retail liquor store, especially if you're doing all your other you're going out and doing your errands, going to the post office, going to the dry cleaners, going to the Food Lion to get your groceries. You can it's right there in 5 Points. So.
Ms. McIntosh had a question.
I had a question. So one of the other comments referenced a number of other liquor stores around town. Who would you compare yourself to the most? Who would be, you would say was your sort of peer? Because there's, pretty wide range of.
Like a Morganelli's, like a neighborhood place. It's not going to be a superstore like Greens or Bottles. We're just not, it doesn't have the size or the capability to have that. And I will say we're not going to put graphics all over the windows and have graphics of liquor bottles. We're not going to sell lottery tickets. I think that can cause problems with people trying to hang out and they come in and buy one and go out in the parking lot and scratch it off. And if they win, they come back in kind of thing. So we're just not going to have that.
Yeah. And then just sort of a follow-up question, because there's been a lot of focus on the wine, and I know enough of alcohol regulation to be dangerous, but does that require you to have the 2 separate sides? Like
You can have beer, you can have liquor and wine on one side, or you have to have beer on the separate side.
Okay.
And some places have the beer and wine separated from the liquor, but you can have wine and liquor in the same, just not beer.
Any other questions? All right. And board discussion is closed. The discussion is closed. And testimony, let's begin board discussion. I guess the first step is, would anyone like to make a motion?
Well, should we discuss a little bit before we make the motion?
Well, the reason we did this, it was some technical reason having to do with you make the motion and then it either rises or falls. And so you make them, there was some reason from a Robert's Rules of Order thing that frankly, I don't remember the details of, but that's why we make a motion. And you can still vote against it. If you change your mind, you can vote against it later on, or you can, however you want to do. But there was a reason for that. Do you remember any of this?
I think my hesitation was if we're going to add any sort of not amendments, but qualifications, as we sometimes do.
Okay. Well, would anyone like to make a motion? Pro or con?
I'll make a motion to approve the special exception request subject to staff comments.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Now we will have discussion, board discussion. right? That's the way we did it. It was just nutty. There was some reason we did this that we were supposed to, that John Gregory came up with. Any rate,
I'm not recalling that, but you can have board discussion.
let's have
before
board
the-
discussion. Well, let's withdraw the motion. Would anyone would you like to withdraw your motion for the
I will
moment?
withdraw my motion.
Okay, and your second. Okay, great. So let's have our discussion. Okay, so what do we think?
I'm looking at the duties of this board when it comes to approving applications for special exceptions. As long as all of the 12 criteria are met, it is clear to me that all the criteria have been met. So I don't really see, to me, this looks like, it looks like our duty would be to approve this application based on the criteria that are expected of us as a board.
Davis, any thoughts?
I agree with what Gerard's saying.
And you've said you like it, so, okay,
Well, I
yeah.
would vote to approve it, but I think sort of on a number of points, just to counter some comments that were made, so I'm happy to share where I'm at. I think the location is actually a reasonable one because it doesn't put it on a main street, because if you know what you need, then you can go there and buy it. From an overall community planning standpoint, to throw a liquor store on your prime corner spot, that makes a much stronger statement. I would actually have more issues with it there. I think there are options for ingress and egress that overall, because of the general capacity of the store, can be mitigated. I think most of the traffic issues are not going to be up Green Street. I think it's going to be back towards Hardin. But that is a right turn primarily, so I feel like, your highest traffic egress is going to be right turns. So I feel okay about that. So that's where I'm at.
I mean, I'm a little more concerned, partly because I do live up the hill, as Susie does. I'm a little more concerned. I'm particularly concerned because I'm very familiar with the area with, as I said, that turn. If people are turning left coming out onto Blossom Street, that's kind of a blind turn. But, they said they would, if that turned out to be a problem, they would see if they could do something to remedy it. I'm not 100% sure, but I guess I am encouraged by the fact that there is an ingress and egress onto Green Street, which I think is a little bit better. The fact that the place is going to be closed, has to be closed by 7, is really strong. I mean, that's a stronger situation. I am a little concerned because there's no way to ensure that the assertions that they made here today are in fact a reality if their business model changes and they decide that, well, actually, we do want to make those little pint bottles and all like that. The zoning staff does not have really the ability, other than by somebody, if somebody were to complain, there's no real way to enforce that. So, it sounds really good on paper. I hope it will be good. I think it is probably a better an improvement to what's there now, which is nothing, and Pavlov's was certainly a mess. I know that we were concerned last year. We had heard about problems with some folks from Salty Nut misbehaving and coming in and causing a problem in front of Bar Grand Sasso, and that in that little alleyway down there by Pita Pit and that. But no one's here to bring that up again now, so maybe that's no longer a problem. So all that said, I'm inclined to support the motion too. So, all right, so we have a motion.
Do I have to restate my motion?
Restate your motion.
I move to approve the special exception, subject to staff comments.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. All right, and we have no other business. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, bye.
Aye.